Welcome to Live Forever Young Radio. I am Raleigh Culp, here with Bob Gilpatrick as usual. Bob, how you doing?
Doing very well. How are you, Raleigh?
I'm doing good, man. I'm doing good. It's the beginning of October. Unfortunately, our Tampa Bay Rays suffered a really sad loss yesterday after an amazing season. But that's okay. It's a new beginning, right?
Yeah.
Now we can look forward to football and hockey.
Looking forward to the fall.
Right.
And being healthy in the fall.
Exactly. That's kind of the whole idea of today's show. We got some really good tips that we want to share with you on how to stay healthy during the fall months, some really easy to implement things that you can do in your everyday life. Also, we're going to talk a little bit about why your immune system slows down in the winter. Spend a little bit of time on that before we give you the tips. But besides that, Bob, what's going on?
Hey, let's see. Today's the 5th of October.
Yes.
Right now, in many parts of the world, the fall has already come in the northern hemisphere.
Right.
I saw it was 49 degrees in Alaska yesterday.
That's not bad.
It was still 90 degrees. Today's going to be 91 degrees here in Florida, in St. Petersburg.
Yeah, at least the humidity is a little lower today.
Yeah, and the humidity is lower, and that's one of the things that people need to know about for the fall.
Mm-hmm.
Humidity drops all throughout the northern hemisphere, and so you want to make sure to stay hydrated.
Correct.
This is time to pay more attention to your hydration. People think, well, it's the summer, it's hot, right? But then as it starts to dry out, you can't let your guard down and say, okay, so now I don't need to drink as much water. You actually do.
Yeah, actually, when it does cool down in Florida, I go out and I tend to do more stuff in the yard. And I also tend to not drink as much water while I'm doing those activities because it's cooler. And in a sense, obviously, you still need to drink the water, but you're not sweating as profusely. So you're thinking to yourself, oh, I'm okay. I can do a couple more things before I take a break and get a drink of water. But no, it's actually just as important in the fall because,
the air is drier.
Right. And I always say the water is like the oil for the body. If you don't have enough water, it's going to be like an engine without oil. It's going to fizzle out.
Yeah. Then, in taking care of your skin also, this is where you want to make sure to moisturize your body, your face, and don't let your skin dry out and start to crack. That's the opposite of what you want. The skin is a barrier to protect you against outside injury, pathogens, etc.
Mm-hmm.
And if your skin weakens because it's dehydrated, you don't want that.
So, yeah, one thing I notice again when it cools down is the lips start to get chapped, and I like to carry a chapstick with me, or a Vaseline type of thing because I hate having chapped lips no matter what it is. And then one of the things I do notice is like my cuticles and my tips of my fingers. If I don't keep them moisturized, I actually don't use enough lotion, but they start to crack, and that really hurts actually when like right here starts to crack and you're grabbing something and it splits and you're like, oh, okay, that hurts. So I went to, I forget where we went to. I can't remember exactly where it was, but I was talking to somebody about this and they're like, oh yeah, just get some Vaseline and rub some Vaseline on your hands before you go to bed at night. It'll help a lot. And I was like, before bed's good because you touch everything and it all rubs off.
Yeah. Yep. Another thing probably we hear about is the vitamin D levels.
Right.
Because people are not in the sun enough. The sun starts to get so lower in the sky.
Mm-hmm.
During the summertime, it's high in the sky. The rays are coming through a smaller portion of the atmosphere. And as the sun stays on the horizon, it's coming through a wider part of the atmosphere. And so more rays are filtered out. And so your body naturally makes less vitamin D. And even in Florida, you say, okay, so it might be 91 degrees today, but it's been a long time since June 21st when the sun was the highest in the sky.
Right.
It's a number of months now. And so already, even in Florida, people can't get enough vitamin D, even if you're in the sun during the daytime.
Right.
So this is the time where you want to supplement with vitamin D. Make sure that your level is checked. Ask your doctor to check your vitamin D level. They're not necessarily going to do that for you because it's not on the regular schedule of things to measure on your lab tests
Right.
anymore. It used to be, but it's not anymore. So you have to ask for it and beware of the range. The range they'll show you is 20 to 100.
Mhm.
That's a very wide range, and 20 is actually critically low. So don't go by it if something is high or low in that range.
Right.
Right. You want your level to be around 70, not 20. 20, and you're extremely deficient in vitamin D, even though the lab tests won't flag it as low.
That's interesting.
So you're going to need to take between 5 and 10,000 international units of vitamin D to get up to that level of 70, which we now know is the ideal level. A lot of places you'll see recommendations where, take 2,000 IUs a day, and that's good. You'll be good to go. Absolutely not. 2,000 IUs will raise your level up to maybe to 40 if you're lucky. And it's still just barely half of what it is that you need it to be.
Gotcha.
So don't go by this 2,000 IU thing. That it's uninformed. You need to go by the real information that says at 70, you're actually at the right level.
Gotcha. And vitamin D is something that, unless you get it tested, you're not going to really have a good idea what your range is. So when you're worried about it, check it. And a lot of the times it's low, right? Some people have a normal range and you get it through diet, but I'm sorry, you can't get it through diet. But it comes from the sun. So you have to actually supplement. And by supplementing, if you're taking enough, you can raise the level. And it's also key for your immune health, which is very important. So if you want to have a strong immune system during the winter months and the fall months, you definitely want to make sure your vitamin D level is at that 70 range.
And also you want to make sure that you have the right level for zinc, magnesium, all like that. And we recently did a whole thing on boosting your immune system.
Yes, about 3 shows ago. So check that out.
Be good to go and review that. We've had lots of trouble in the past 3 years since 2020 with lots of illness, a lot more illness, a lot more people dying, etc. During the winter months.
Exactly.
So this year, don't let that happen. Make sure that you get the nutrients that you need to boost your immune system as much as you can, and also try to keep your stress level down.
Right. And we traditionally, we always talk about flu season coming around the winter months. And, the reason why that happens is because the cold and the weather actually slows down your body's immune response. So normally, the mucus in your nose, the runny nose and everything that you get is there to protect and, kind of intercept any pathogens that might enter those cavities specifically through your nose. But if you notice when you're out in the cold, right, and your nose gets all hard and kind of sounds gross, but crusty, that's not really doing a good job of protecting you the way it should be. So that's why, not just that reason, but that's one of the reasons why winter, one of the actual things that it does, the physical cold will change the way the mucus actually protects your inner cavities. So that's another thing to be careful of, and always blow your nose, wash your hands, don't be touching your face and then opening doorknobs or picking up phone.
Yep. Raleigh, another thing that happens as the weather starts to get cold is people are more susceptible to heart problems. There are more heart attacks during the cold weather than there are during the warm weather. And this is something that people need to have a plan to make sure that they're doing everything that we know is important to have a healthy heart. And again, we have a whole podcast on the health of your heart. And a lot of it is determined by how efficiently your mitochondria is working.
Exactly.
And we have another podcast on the mighty mitochondria.
The mighty mitochondria.
And,
That's right. Go to boomerboost.com. Check that out.
Yeah, and we have a lot of great nutrition products for people's heart health.
Yes.
We know that you need certain B vitamins, coenzyme Q10, amino acids, metabolic enzymes, probiotics. And if you are really serious about making sure that you're healthy this fall, you want to make sure you've got your total health system, which gives you complete, comprehensive, fundamental nutrition to have the best chance that you can of being super healthy, through this time.
Yeah, and another thing that you bring up, like with the vitamin D and the Boomer Boost that we're talking about, along with our barley, a lot of the times, especially during the winter, it's kind of harder to get quality food. Especially if it's harder to get to, if it's snowing, it's harder to get to the grocery store. Fresh foods and vegetables aren't growing as much in this season,
Mm-hmm.
Obviously,
farmers markets closed down.
Farmers markets closed, so getting those fresh fruits and vegetables is harder, right?
Yep.
So you want to be able to have something that can make up for those nutrients, vitamins, minerals that you're lacking. It's kind of like a vicious cycle. If you're not getting good foods to bump up and improve your immune system, and it's the winter months and you're more susceptible to getting sick, then diet has a lot to do with your immune system, and making sure you have a comprehensive nutrition is one of the things you can do to keep your body at its peak.
Yeah, and supplementation is very important in that regard, because we know that when people are able to eat fresh foods, fresh vegetables, particularly from the farmer's market, there are many, many compounds that are in those foods that we don't even know what they are,
Right.
that are beneficial. They say that 95% of all the matter in food is actually dark matter, where you don't know what it is. You know about 5% of compounds that are in there, but 95% we don't really know what's in there and what it is.
So say that again. You know about how much?
About 5%.
So we only know about 5% of what's in a fresh food.
Yeah.
And
they say that in a fresh food, there's somewhere around 25,000 different nutritious compounds, and they only know 5% of them.
Interesting.
And so it's like the universe has dark matter that we still don't know what it is. You have dark matter in food as well.
Interesting.
And so when you're not able to get fresh food, you want to make sure that the next best thing, which is to get really great supplements. So, for example, in our barley powder, that's a fresh food that has been stabilized, right? So all of those nutrition compounds that are in there, thousands of them, have been nutrient stabilized. So more so than during the time when you can eat fresh food, this is the time you want to make sure you have something like the Gladiator barley or the heirloom barley that's all the nutrients were stabilized, which is not the case with the food you're going to get at the grocery store. It came from somewhere else, South America, California. By the time it gets there, 90% of the nutrients are gone. And so now it's the time to make sure you've got your Gladiator barley and your Boomer Boost. Otherwise, you're going to be very severely nutrient deficient during the fall and winter and the beginning part of the spring until the fresh food comes back.
Right. Yep. Very important. Couple of this more fun things is, take some time to yourself. In the winter months, you're going to have time to, reflect, think, spend time with family. And one of the things that's really important for mental health is relationships, maintaining good relationships. You get a chance to see family during the holidays. So when you go see family, that's a good time to reconnect. Sometimes it can be hairy, but if we have a podcast about nonviolent communication. That is a really great way to navigate situations like holidays with people you haven't seen in a while, maybe family members that have issues with each other. You might be able to resolve some long-standing family issues if you bring nonviolent communication to the holiday party.
I think that, and you can start now. So the holidays typically are going to be starting, more in November. And if you were to start now,
Halloween counts.
Halloween counts as a holiday, national holiday. But that's the beginning of November.
Basically November.
But
right?
now the beginning of October, this might be a time to connect with a family
Start
member
reaching out now.
Maybe you haven't had the best relations with, maybe you can think of something, you read something that reminds you of them in a positive way. So you share it with them and
Yeah.
say, hey, I was thinking about you and I wanted to share this book with you. I wanted to share this with you. Quite often, the person on the other end that might be having a hard time with you as well,
Mm-hmm.
their reaction is, oh, that was so nice. I'm really hoping that we can get back on track and be friends again, get along well together.
Yeah.
And if you start it now with little things, and then you learn nonviolent communication, and you bring yourself to the holiday party with that skill set,
Mm-hmm.
and who knows, maybe you just happen to have a copy of it in your car, right? When you arrive at the party, and you can say, oh, I have an extra copy of that book. Would you like it?
Yeah.
Right.
This is really funny. We went for vacation to North Carolina, to Bryson City. We actually took a trip on the Smoky Mountain Railroad, which was great. And, you walk in and it's a train car. You've got a couple sets of seats here, our sets of seats here, all the way down. And the guy next to me in the train was reading the book, Nonviolent Communication.
Way. No way.
Yes, I swear.
That's amazing.
I looked over, I said, hey, that's a great book. He goes, oh, yeah, man, I just started reading it. I can't put it down. I was like, that is a book that I told him about the show, and I told him about our podcast on it. And he was like, oh, I'm going to have to go check that out. I was like, well, yeah, I mean, the book is what you want to read. But yeah, if you want to see our take on it, definitely check it out. But it's a real thing, man. Now, I didn't know that guy. I didn't give him that book. He just had it.
Yeah. Somebody must have told him about it who listened to our podcast about it.
That's got to be it.
Yeah.
I'll attribute it to us.
Yeah.
It's just small world, the things we talk about and these ideas aren't just things that we talk about. They're things that people are picking up, and the way the world communicates now, it's instantaneous. Yeah. So now being able to communicate effectively, regardless of in-face, over the phone, email, text message, it's supremely important because a lot of things can be misunderstood and cause communication issues. And we don't want that to lead to violence. There's plenty of that already. So really key, check out the book, Nonviolent Communication. The guy on the train told me he recommends it.
Good. You'll write a book called The Guy on the Train.
The Guy on the Train. The nonviolent guy on the train.
That's really great. Raleigh, the other thing is just stress in general.
Mm-hmm.
I think people want to brush up on your skills with stress management as well, to use the emotional freedom technique, to use havening. This is a good time if you have an inner balance device to start using it again if you got out of the habit. If you don't have an inner balance device, you can get one from heartmath.com. They're very inexpensive and great devices. You can clip to your ear. It's got a transponder. It communicates to an app on your phone. Probably the single greatest invention for reducing stress that we've ever seen.
Yeah, it makes it turns it almost into a game that you want to accomplish more on. You unlock achievements, you unlock things. Check that. We did a podcast on that as well.
Finding your inner balance.
One of the things too that I was thinking about and we were talking about was, we've talked about it before on different shows, but you have the time change coming up. I believe it's in October.
I'm not sure when it is.
I believe it's in October. And we did a show about it, how it can mess up your circadian rhythms. It can kind of throw your schedule off. So one of the things you can do in preparation for that is start going to bed a little bit earlier. I don't know if you've noticed, but it's starting to already get darker a little bit earlier. Yeah. And when it gets darker, that's our body's signal to create melatonin and start winding down and changing our brain patterns, our brain waves. So if you feel yourself getting sleepy, don't try to push through it. Try to work your way into it slowly. I'm not saying go to bed at 10 o'clock, but I'm saying when you start to feel tired, and normally you go to bed at 11:30, 12, maybe go to sleep at 11. And then that way you're getting yourself ready for the time change, because that can throw your schedule off. And that's another thing I wanted to say is try to keep a schedule. It's a little easier because during the cold months, you've got school that starts up in September. And then so school gets a lot of people on track from being off track during the summer. But then the holidays come, and then that throws your schedule all off again. So try to give yourself a schedule, at least a few things a day that you always try to do at the same time, whether it's working out, taking a walk, eating just on a consistent basis, healthy foods. That's very helpful as well during the fall season.
Absolutely. Great advice, Raleigh.
Hey,
thanks very much.
Absolutely, guys.
That's it for today. Thanks, everybody, for watching and listening to Live Forever Young Radio Live. We'll see you on the next show.
See ya.